All right, Coach, how did the first day of practice go?
Yeah, I thought pretty good. More so than the previous 2 years that I've been here. We have more spots open, more competition at a bunch of different spots on the defensive side and the offensive side. And I think, just that competition just breeds a different sense when these kids come out and start competing and knowing that there's a job at stake. And so yeah, I thought we try to keep it a little bit lighter. We got a lot of summer access throughout the course of the summer. We've installed a ton throughout the course of the summer, and so I think that allows you to come out and take a little bit off their legs. We're practicing with a little bit less than what we usually do with all the new rules and new numbers, and so I thought it was short, clean, crisp, sharp, and so still a ton to improve on, but I was pleasantly pleased with what we had out there today.
What exactly
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
sorry.
first thing?
Plays from football throughout working with the summer and now fall camp. What are the biggest differences that you've seen in this team so far?
Yeah, there's a lot of new people, and so I think all those transfers, they're 6 months better. This is the second or third time they've been through this install. I think that they've made mistakes, they've learned, they've grown, they've become better within our schemes, understanding what we're asking them to do is the big thing. I think anytime you have 60 new players, that's something that you want. And then two, we got some guys at summer, and this is the first time that they've actually been out here in a true practice with us. And so, yeah, I think we have to bring along some guys right now. We'll push some reps their way to see what they can do, and so there's kind of a two thoughts of process there. These older guys that have been through your system, they know everything. You want to be a little bit lighter and sharper and manage their reps, and then you want to push some the way of the guys that don't have as much invested reps in our systems right now.
What have you kind of seen from, the quarterback battle's been a big topic of discussion. What have you kind of seen from Nestemaker, Jimerson, and Offenberger so far in the first day?
Yeah, what's been fun for me is, we got three guys that I think are really good at football. And the unique thing about these three is they're individually, have these talents that are all a little bit different than the other ones. And so, Drew has, more reps than any of them. I think he probably has been through it enough where he probably has a little bit of an edge of knowing the offense and knowing what we're looking for, knowing how I'm going to call the plays, all those things. But Reese is as good of a thrower of the football I've ever been around. Just super talented. It comes out tight, on time, a true competitor out there. And then Jimerson, he's like, we're molding this piece of clay right now. There's a couple times where he took off today, and from his pocket presence, phenomenal. Continues to grow as a thrower, know what he can do when he pulls that ball down and runs. But his accuracy's really improved over the course of the last 6 or 7 months. And, all three of them, we're lucky to have them.
Are you just in a better place this year than maybe you have in the previous year?
Yeah, I think so. I think the drive's still there of wanting to prove something right now. I think we have a lot to prove this year. It's something that we've been so close these last couple of years. I think we've had 10 league games that have been one-score games since I've been here. And so we got to flip the script, and we know that. And so there's a little bit of an urgency with that. But at the same time, I think, we're bigger than we've ever been. We're faster, by the GPS number. And we have more depth at a lot of different key positions, especially up front on both sides. So I'm more encouraged just about watching these guys compete and really find who can earn a spot. And so I think these next 2.5, 3 weeks will be really telling to see kind of how we can put this all together.
With how competitive that quarterback race is, Coach, what's your outlook on possibly redshirting either Chris or you Drew maintain that redshirt season from last year?
Yeah, I think you wait to the end when you're ready to make a decision, and you really sit back and you analyze what's the best for the kid at that point. And that's where I think you don't want a kid to go out there and play in 5 mop-up games and burn his red shirt. And so we did the same thing with Drew last year. Once he got to 4 games, we knew that wasn't going to be an option for us anymore. That, hey, this kid's done a great job. He's got a great future ahead of him, really bright career in front of him, and so let's save that red shirt. And so hard to tell right now. We got to see kind of how all this unfolds, and then we'll be able to sit back, and really make a educated decision on what we should do.
Yes, in terms of the evaluation, these guys aren't in pads yet. So what are you kind of looking out for so far?
Yeah, I think I personally don't enjoy the first 2 days of pad, not being padded. The worst, obviously for offensive linemen and defensive linemen. I think the physicality, the run game part of it, where they're trying to strike, I think the pads adds a different element to it. And so, we only have 2 days of non-padded practice, a little bit lighter, less of the physicality of really trying to, come off the ball and run power schemes and all those things to prevent some kind of injuries and shoulders and such. And so really, focus on a bunch of technique right now. I think over the course of the summer, did a great job of really catching a bunch of guys up schematically, and I think this is, these next 2 weeks really important for us to really hone in on techniques right now.
With so many new guys that you brought in over the course of the offseason, you're still kind of going through the getting to know each other process and kind of discovering what you have in your roster?
Yeah, I think so, and I think fall camp's the greatest time to do that. You get to spend so much time together, and I think, just finding different moments throughout the day to touch these kids, and whether that's, you coming in the morning, and this morning, I had breakfast with a couple defensive guys that I haven't spent a ton of time with, and just asking them about real life stuff and being able to build relationships and create that camaraderie. Going through that camp, we're pretty much up here from 6:30 in the morning all the way until 9 o'clock at night, with breaks kind of in there. So at night, we'll have a lot more, intimate settings where I think that, we'll give some kids some opportunities to get up and talk and tell their stories, and coaches the same thing to really kind of learn about one another. And these days, that's more expedited than ever, right? I think that you have to really expedite that process of building the relationships. And so there'll be some intentional things that we do over the course of the next 3 weeks to really build the relationships.
You brought June and Gabe Blair to the media day, and they've been one of the longest tenured players on this team from a different coaching staff as well. What does that kind of speak to you about how they wanted to stay in this program and kind of evolve and maybe influence other people not as much enter the portal?
Yeah, I think I just really respect both of those guys, not only of the decision not to enter the portal, but just how important they've been to this program. You look at June, who's had 26 starts since he's been here. Gabe's had 37 starts in the Mean Green. And so, I think not only their experience, but their knowledge of North Texas, their love for North Texas. And we went back and looked from that signing class of who was left, and from the actual signing class of scholarship kids, those were the only two. Xavier Katai was one that was, came in and walked on and later earned a scholarship. But yeah, I think it's not normal in football these days, and so I just thought that they had earned that right to go and represent this program and this football team.
You feel like guys grew a lot over the course of the summer?
Yeah, I think in June's the biggest, month, I think, that you see all that growth, and so we try to put a little bit more emphasis in June on really spending more time doing football stuff. And I think it's still important at the end of the day, like, they need to do strength and conditioning, and there needs to be a point where they're away from the coaches, for 3 or 4 weeks, and they're able to come together as a team without us being there full time. And so, June was huge for us. It's turned into June, being a super busy month for coaches. You got your high school, official visits coming in. You got all your new guys coming in. You're trying to install. You're doing your summer camps for your high school kids. And so it's a lot packed into June. And then, obviously want the coaches to get some time away from everything and spend some time with their families in the month of July. Come back to Texas High School Coaching School, at the end of July. And we've been in the office ever since.
Coach, by the season opener, what areas do you hope this team to be really efficient or prepared for throughout after fall camp?
There's so much. I think, the big things that stand out, we have to tackle better and be able to stop the run on the defensive side. Huge emphasis on that. I think Coach Cassidy's style's a lot different, more aggressive and like to pressure a little bit more. And so I think can cause some negative plays and put us in advantageous situations on the defensive side of the ball and not living in third and medium, third and short the whole time. And then I think offensively, obviously we were explosive last year, but if you go back and you really study, our turnovers were atrocious. And so we really got to protect the football this year. We're not good on fourth down whatsoever. And then the last one was our red zone offense. And so I think those three things are just huge things. If we can put all those together with remaining to be really explosive in the run game and the pass game, I think the sky's the limit. But, those are hard areas to really go and master. And so it's going to take a lot of work for us to really excel in those three things.
Momentarily, we'll be speaking to Landon Sides as well. What have you kind of seen from him throughout fall camp, and how has the transition been to being more of an outside receiver so far?
Yeah, Landon's been an injury. He comes in as a freshman and has some success as a freshman. He's a local kid. And all of us as coaches think the sky's the limit for this kid. He's tough, he's competitive, he's wired the right way. And then you fast forward the next year and kind of caught a bad string of luck there. Just last year at this time, he wasn't able to go coming off a knee injury, and then right after that had a hamstring injury, and just really didn't get healthy until the last couple of weeks of the season, and was finally back 100% in the bowl game. And I think, you saw what he came out and that spark that he provided for us. But, possibly, one of the best summers of anybody, just of really taking care of his business. He's really trained his body to go out there. He's in the best shape he's been since he's been here. He's running the fastest. He's the strongest in the weight room. So excited to watch him go out and go earn a lot of things on the field this year.
Yeah, can he be important with you guys losing your top three? Can he be a real key piece for you guys, Landon, this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you look at him and Miles Coleman, what they were able to do late, the experience that they both have now, are two guys that are, dynamic forces with the ball in their hand, have been great for us throughout the offseason, but then added a lot of pieces around them. I mean, look at Simeon Evans coming off, the performance that he did, 800 or 900 yards at Sam Houston, scored a ton of touchdowns. Cam Dorner coming over from Shepherd, scored a ton of touchdowns, a lot of yards. Shandon King has been awesome in practice, a guy we really feel like can stretch the field for us. Wyatt Young. So you start looking at the numbers and the possibilities. And then I think, Trey Williams has as good of a skill set as kind of a hybrid tight end as we've had since we've been here.
With so many different guys in that wide receiver room, with each with their own unique skills and all that, what are you kind of looking for the starting receivers?
Yeah, I want to see a body of work. I think, you're not just looking for the one standout play that happens here or there. You want to put together a body of work of the course of the next 21 practices or so. And then as you get into a mock game week, you want to be able to cram that down and be able to look at, who's our top 8 guys to go out there that we want to really focus to get them the ball in certain situations, create matchups, things of that nature. And so I think, over the course of the next 21, 22 days of practice, they need to put together the consistency rather than, the big playability here and there.
In spring you mentioned tempo, and last year a lot of high-tempo offense. And do you feel like you're going to slow that down this year? Do you feel like that's going to be a high emphasis for this quarterback in offense?
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I think that there's definitely some situations that would like to catch the defense off guard, but something that I would like to not rely on, the majority of a game. And so if we could cut back on that, control the ball, run the football, I think, with the tight end room rebuilt, with the mass that we have on the offensive line, should allow us to control the ball a little bit better in the run game.
This offensive line seems to be the best that you've had in your tenure here. What have you kind of seen from these guys, and how do you feel like the experience, especially on the tackle end, will be able to help you guys out?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with Jim Toe and Braden, I mean, those are two guys that I think you can do a lot of damage with in this league, and the experience they have, the size they have, the length they have. Both of them are super intelligent. And then, just being able to add some pieces around Gabe. Tay Yanta's been phenomenal for us, who's, started a ton of games at ACU. You add Dylan Shaw, who's a big, strong kid from Texas Tech, who's looked amazing. Can't wait to see him in the pads and get going. Johnny Dixon's been awesome for us, a lot of experience. So that's going to be one of those rooms, I think, where there's going to be some battles over the course of this next couple of weeks.
I was looking back at your guys' bowl starters, and we're talking to Shane here in a minute. You only have 2 defensive starters coming back, guys that started the bowl game. Can a guy like Shane really help you guys as you rebuild on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think Shane's a great example where, when we go to the portal and we're really evaluating and trying to find out why a kid's not playing somewhere. He's somebody we looked up, and he's a guy that played almost every special teams at Oklahoma, and he was sitting behind an All-American linebacker. And so you could see the film. He's used to being in big games, big situations. It wasn't like he just sit somewhere for 3 years and hadn't played football. He played a ton of football, of snaps of footballs. He just wanted to play full-time on the defensive side of the ball to showcase what he can do. And been such a pleasure to be around the way he works. And I think he's one of those guys, this is his last year. You could tell he kind of flipped the switch in the off-season training. Really took care of his body, in great shape right now. And so, yeah, I think he has that rare size and athleticism that I think is kind of transitioning into the NFL right now. I mean, a guy that's not the old school 235-pound plugger, but 225-pound and can run sideline to sideline and make plays in space.
You mentioned on Twitter that you were going to match NIL funds, which I thought was interesting. What prompted you to decide to do that?
Well, I'm just going to match funds of us raising money internally here. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that right now more than ever, I mean, I think that the university, as you see across the landscape, I mean, we've had, every university across America is cutting budgets in athletics. They're cutting positions in athletics. And I think, I'm blessed to be able to do what I do and make the money that I do. And so, anytime, my wife and I think that it's great to give back to a good cause. It's something that, is in our heart. I felt like this was a great time. We felt like this was a great time to be able to support the community that supports us all the time. And so, yeah, as simple as that, I think, good things happen to people that do good things. And I love this university, love the administration, and thought it'd be a good way to give back.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Hey, Shane, so first day of practice, I mean, what were your thoughts on how it all went today?
I feel like, honestly, it went really well. It really didn't feel like a first day of practice, all the PRPs and the OTAs we've been running. And I feel like it's been a really good practice. Everything ran smooth and looking good so far.
A lot of excitement heading into this year for you guys. You feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I feel like we have like a kind of a chip on our shoulder, and we have something to prove this year. And I feel like all three sides of the ball really, and we're ready to prove it. And we're really excited to go out there and show what we got to do.
Why do you guys have a chip on your shoulder this year?
I feel like that we could have did better last year as a team, and I feel like we know it. Everybody knows that we could have, so we feel like we have something to prove, basically.
You're one of the returning starters from last year on this defense, especially from the bowl game, and you're in a new defensive system. How do you feel like Coach Cassidy has kind of helped y'all out, kind of learn the system a little better?
I feel like he's done a great job since the day he came in January. He's been having all of us meeting together as a back seven. I feel like that's really been something that really helped us learn what we have, and not just what we have, but the guy next to us is doing. So I feel like mentally that makes everything run smoother, and we could really just fly around on the field and have nothing to worry about.
A lot of new faces. Do you feel good about the guys that they brought in, the way it's fitting all together?
Yeah, I'm really confident. I feel like we brought in a lot of good new faces, and the way that we're getting together and we're connecting in and outside of the field, I feel like our team chemistry is really good, and I feel like this is the best that it's been since I've been here.
Media day, Coach mentioned you, Ethan Soskin, and Trey Fields is kind of pretty much the definitive starters for everyone. Just what do you feel like you were able to show last year to be able to kind of get a leg up on that and securing that starting position?
I feel like we said before, I am an older guy, and I do have more experience. But I feel like another thing that I'm trying to bring to the team is not expertise, but knowledge of the game. Like I was saying before, not just knowing your job, and knowing like what the person next to you has. So when we're on the field, it's not like a confusion. We just play smoothly out there.
Yeah, speaking on experience, you mentioned last year. What do you feel like were the biggest lessons for you and the defense heading into this one?
Like I said before, I feel like the biggest thing lesson that we learned last year is just being in the moment and being where your feet at. I feel like last year we got not big-headed, but our head was kind of out everywhere. And this year we've really been focusing on the little things and being where our feet are and taking it day by day.
You've been able to go against now Drew Mestemaker and Reese Poffenberger and Chris Jimerson at the quarterback position. What have you kind of seen from them, and how have they been able to kind of help you guys out, especially learning a new system?
It's great coming from those three guys with great quarterbacks with great experience, all three of them. And seeing them compete every day is helping us not only from on the offense side, but defense, seeing what they see and talking to them. I've been trying to get in an offensive side, not just stick to a defensive mindset, but also see what they're looking at and how they process things, so I can also have a better aspect on things when I'm on the field also.
You had many of your teammates enter the transfer portal this past year. What kind of convinced you to stay and made you want to be part of this program with the new defensive coordinator?
I love everything that we have here at North Texas, and Coach Morris. I love him as a coach and the staff that we have here. And since Coach Cassidy came in, I love the defense, and with the team that we have, I feel like there's no reason for me to leave.
And Coach said that you came here largely to play a bigger role. Are you excited about that opportunity as you go into your final season? Yeah,
I'm extremely excited. Just having another role on the team and allowing myself to just be myself and express it and seeing everybody else embracing me, and I just been loving it ever since I've been here.
What has your transition been like to that new defensive scheme, and what are your just thoughts on Coach Cassidy as a person and coach?
I've been loving the defense so far. I feel like as a defense, we also like it more. Also, everybody plays better when you like what you're doing. So I feel like we've been playing better also, and I feel like each position likes it also. So whenever we're happy, we can play better. So.
What do you think is the reason you guys are so much more happy playing in this defense?
I feel like confidence is a huge thing, and like I was saying before, the team chemistry we have, we're all out here talking and we're communicating, and like we just love, like if you can't tell, we love being out here and playing with each other.
We're getting ready to talk to Landon, who had all the injury problems last year. I don't know how long you know him, but it's just nice to see him be able to come back and play at his full capacity this year.
Yeah, it's great having Landon. Even when he's not 100%, it's great having a guy like him on the team. Even when he's not performing, he's a great leader off the field. He's a great motivator, and he's always going to let you know that he's there for the team.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, man.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Hi, Landon.
How's it going?
All right, so the first day of fall practice here, so what were your thoughts on just going out again and getting started on a new year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think we're all excited. Started off a little slow, but once we started getting into it and kind of feeling how everything was, how everybody else was, just like a normal practice, getting back into the routine and things.
What have you been working on personally? How has your kind of transition to playing more of an outside role been so far?
It's been good. Main thing I've just been focusing on is just health, really. Just trying to stay healthy, be as available as possible, and just I feel like everything else will come with that. Just as I'm getting older, just gotta keep taking care of the body.
Yeah, because you went through a rough year last year, injury-wise. What happened to you over the course of the year?
I mean, it was just everything. It was so many injuries, one after another, coming off the knee, and then, like another small injury, like soft tissue pop up, and foot, and just all this different stuff. But finally, at the end of the year, I was healthy and just trying to keep that streak going.
What was it like to try to slog through all those issues through the course of a year like that?
Oh, it was definitely tough, having to be in the training room all the time and everything. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do, to try to get through that stuff. And thank God, finally, things started clearing up, like I said, and just trying to keep that streak going.
Does it motivate you going into this year?
Oh, for sure, 100%. Just ready to get back out there and play a full season.
You're one of the few guys in this offense that got to play with Drew Mestemaker last year in the bowl game. What have you kind of seen from him, and how do you feel like he's been able to compete and really get that starting role?
Yeah, I mean, Drew's always been a guy, and one of the hardest workers I know. Y'all saw it in the bowl game, the one start he actually got. I mean, he produced, had an amazing game, went viral, everybody saw it. I think both our quarterbacks are just going to be, it's going to be a battle, and I think, we're going to be great either way, no matter what.
You're 3 here at North Texas, do you feel like you're getting into more of a leadership role or something that's more advanced in this program?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I had a couple of coaches coming up telling me, got to step up to that leader role, and I'm still learning a lot, still learning, what it means to be a leader and everything. But like I said, just trying to, step up to that role for these young guys. Like, when I was a freshman coming in, looking up to guys like D Ward or, Rod and all them, just trying to be that leader for these guys coming in.
3 guys are gone, from last year. Does that give you an opportunity here to maybe fill a larger role heading into this year?
Yeah, oh yeah, it does. I mean, like I said, a lot of the guys are gone that I looked up to, so just got to follow in their footsteps and just try to be as best version of myself I can.
I wanted to ask you your thoughts about playing with Reese as well, and other quarterbacks in that room.
Yeah, like I said, I think we have the best quarterback room, in the conference. There's no doubt about it. You saw Reese's numbers that he put up, he's at Albany and Miami, and then you also have Drew. He didn't get much opportunities, but when he did get his opportunity, he shined. Everybody saw it. So I think no matter what, like I said, we're going to be great, and I think, everything will work out in the end.
You guys have some younger receivers on this roster coming from last year. You have some transfers as well. What have you kind of seen from them, and how do you feel like they can step into those roles after losing the guys like last year?
Yeah, for sure. Biggest thing, I think one of the big guys coming in is obviously Miles. You know, he's going to be an amazing slot for us. We saw what he did last year just as a freshman, you know, so already coming up to his sophomore year, you know, how much better he's going to be. And then a lot of other guys we've gotten, guys we haven't even seen play yet, like Cam, Dorner, Simon Evans, you know, a lot of these guys going to step up in those leadership roles because they're older already, you know, just waiting to see what they can do.
Out of the guys in that room, I wanted to ask you who you think kind of has the best route running ability, best hands, if you were to give those two awards out?
I'd say, I mean, I don't even know. I probably couldn't even name one guy. I mean, like I said, I think Miles and Wyatt, you know, I mean, Dalton, I think they're all amazing receivers. And then outside, you know, I think Simeon and Cam are just two amazing receivers as well, you know, with route running and hands, like everything. I think a lot of the guys in our receiver room have it all.
You've been able to go up against a new defensive scheme with Coach Cassidy, and what have you kind of seen from them, and how have they been able to kind of improve your skills as a team or an offense?
Yes, no, I mean Coach Cassidy, I mean he's always on my side when we're going out there, so you know, me and him always talk a little bit, but I mean I think the defense is, you know, going to be a step up for sure, and going to be a whole lot better just under him and under his role, you know, how he is as a guy, and just knowing him on a personal level. I think everything will work out for sure.
Yeah, we talked to Shane here a little while ago. Do you think he's going to be a big piece of this defense this next year?
Oh yeah, 100%. He's going to step up, going to be that leader we need, you know, on the defensive side of the ball, and you know he's going to ball out for sure this season.
Within that new defense, who are some players that you've liked competing against so far?
Oh yeah, for sure. First off is Dave, number 2. I mean he's so good. I mean he'll absolutely clamp me sometimes. You know, gotta work on it. But me and him are making each other better. And Fish, you know, he's also he's really good out there. Quentin Hammonds, he's a safety. You know, I don't really go against him much, but he's a good player. I mean, there's just a lot of guys. You know, I feel like we're a lot deeper in those DB positions, you know, than we were last year. So I think it'll be good.
You know, Coach Moore stressed the importance of having not just experience, but snap count experience, getting guys from the portal. You know, how do you feel like, especially on the offensive line, you guys have a lot of experience there. How do you feel like that will benefit you all this year?
Oh, I think it'll. You know, these guys, they've been there. They've, you know, done it. They've played in these big games. They've played in these stressful moments, you know. So I think that helps a ton once, like, you get into those moments and you don't freak out. Like, you know, all right, I know what I've been here before. I know what to do, and it'll all be good.
You're one of those guys that stayed home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're a little deeper into your career, has that kind of been as beneficial as you thought it would be?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you know, being 10 minutes from my house, go home and see my parents a lot. You know, love to see them. You know, stay with them a lot. Mom cooked me meals. I love it so much. But yeah, no, I love it around here. You know, I love Denton. Like I said, being in Geyer down there is, I mean, like I said, the town of Denton just, it feels like home. You know, I love it here. I love it.
You're heading into your third year in this offense. So I'm just curious, at the receiver position, what do you think are the keys to success to be really productive in this offense?
I mean, first off, you know, just being able to do our job. You know, Coach Moore stresses a lot. Just focusing on doing our job and doing it to the best of our ability. And, you know, if all 11 of us come out there at one time and do our job to the best of our ability, I mean, there's no doubt we're going to be another top 3 offense in the nation like we have been the past 2 years in a row under him. You know, I'm not worried about that at all one bit.
Cool.
All right. Thank y'all.